Reducing the Argentine state to its minimum and at all costs. This is the motto of Javier Milei. In 6 months, he has already cut 30,000 civil service jobs. Maximiliano, a sociologist and economist, was laid off. The Ministry of Social Development, where he has worked for 10 years, has been decimated. Since then, he has been doing one odd job after another: maintenance, telephone surveys, and now driving for Uber.
For social science professionals, all government programs which aimed at improving people's lives have been eliminated. As a result, there is an abundance of highly trained and qualified professionals on the market, for very few job offers and positions to cover.
Maximiliano was the first in his family to go to university and to hold a skilled job. This step backwards, both economically and symbolically, is very difficult.
I feel a lot of frustration, anxiety, despair, sadness, and anger.
His redundancy pay quickly dried up, and his income as an Uber driver, some 350 euros a month, is not enough to pay the rent. He returned to live with his mother on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. Another of Milei's measures was to stop subsidizing public services. Water, gas, and electricity became 5 times more expensive and are still rising.
Last month was 13 euros. This month, 22.
Inflation rose 236% between September 2023 and September 2024. With her pension of 200 euros, Anna can barely support herself.
After the 10th of the month, I stop going to the supermarket. I don't buy anything. I save the money for the bills. The bills come first, and then we'll see.
At times, food is in short supply.
This is poor man's tea. I often only have tea for dinner.
The subsidies for public transport are gone too. Bus, metro, and train fares from this station have increased 7-fold.
Every day I take a bus, a train, 2 subways, a train, and a bus. It's a huge expense.
Argentinians' incomes are not rising at the same rate. With the minimum wage at 260 euros, the transportation cost to come to work is becoming unsustainable.
I can see that there are fewer people on the train in the morning when I come to work, because it costs more to travel than it pays to work, because a lot of people have lost their jobs, because students are giving up their studies because they can't afford the train fare, or the books for that matter, or the photocopies.
It was not usual a few months ago, but now more and more users are committing fraud. Argentines are tightening their belts more and more, and consumer spending continues to fall. The central market in Buenos Aires supplies the entire capital with fruit and vegetables. Sales here fell by 40% just in August. Food prices are now beyond the reach of many people.
How much do the tomatoes cost?
Mariano owns a grocery shop in a middle-class district of central Buenos Aires.
People don't have any more money, that's the reality. My customers buy by the units, 1 banana, 1 tomato, and we do the same thing. My colleague and I now share the purchases. 1 box, half each. I used to buy the whole case.
As a result of the decline in consumer spending, Argentina has fallen into a recession. In the first 6 months of the Milei administration, 10,000 businesses closed and 182,000 jobs were lost. At the same time, poverty jumped by 11%, affecting 53% of the population. This is the highest rate in 20 years. In many squares of Buenos Aires, there is a very visible sign of this crisis. For several months, people have been turning to selling old clothes and small, second-hand goods.
There you have the 50-cent pile, the 20-cent pile, and the €1 pile over there.
Natalia, an unemployed secretary, is one of the pioneers. A year ago, there were just 7 of them in this square. Today, there are around 600.
We're selling less now because there's too much competition. Nobody can make ends meet anymore. People who used to be our customers are now coming with their own blankets to sell.
Such is the case of Mabel, a retired laboratory technician. Here, she sells her old clothes and those of her friends.
My pension isn't enough. It's barely enough to eat. I pay the bills and have nothing left. It's terrible for me because I wasn't used to this. I had a fairly comfortable life. I could go to the cinema, eat out once a month. It seems like such a long time ago.
Javier Milei prides himself on pursuing tough economic policies. Although inflation and the deficit are falling, for some Argentines, the social cost of these measures is far too high.